The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Jones. I am the Oracle Applications and Technologies uh, Education Manager. Um, Welcome, everyone, to this speaker orientation we're doing for Forum Online. This is something we've kind of never really done before. We used to do connection points back in the day and used to run some web events that way. We're kind of doing this the same way. So if you were involved in those in the past, these will run very similar. But we are adding some extra tweaks and things of that nature because we had to lift and shift all the Collaborate sessions to Forum Online. So I'm going to basically be going over how to present on GoToWebinar. And I hope if anyone has any questions, please make sure you type your questions into. I'm getting a few people that cannot hear audio. Is that the case for everyone? No. Okay. No. Looks like everyone can hear. If you can't hear, definitely check and make sure you don't have your audio turned off on your computer. So I'll basically be going over GoToWebinar. I'm sure, as everyone knows, with what's going on with COVID, people have become a lot more familiar with either GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Zoom, WebEx, things of that nature. So we'll be basically trying to go over how to run a successful webinar. A quick agenda for today. We'll basically give you a quick overview of the OATUG online forum. What we're doing, essentially what we really tried to do is collaborate the best way we can. Obviously, the high points of Collaborate is always the education, and that will be the backbone of this event. But we do have a couple other little fun things that we can do, ways people can engage virtually. We'll talk about those as well. I'm sorry, Hannah, go back to that last slide. There you go. We'll just basically cover, we'll show you access to the hub. The hub is essentially going to be a quick kind of community just for Forum Online where you can post questions, you can view recordings, kind of look at PowerPoints, things of that nature. We'll show you how to update your bio and headshot in the event. So you can basically, I'd really like all speakers to go in and update your bio and headshot. So you look really professional in there. We'll show you some samples of that so you take a look at it. We'll show you what you need to do before your session, some of the things you should look out for, things you should do joining the session. We'll talk about the section structure, things that you need to do. We'll talk about during the session. And then lastly, we'll talk about our in-person event that's going to happen in December, but nothing has officially been announced yet, but we are closing in on that information. And then we'll lastly talk about keys to a good webinar presentation at the very end, some FAQs, and then definitely go over a Q&A. Everyone should be looking at that question box, your control panel. That's where you're going to ask any questions. I'm checking it now, so I do hear, I do see a few questions typing in now, and I'll try to answer them as we go through. I know someone just asked a question: can you change your virtual background in GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar like you can with Zoom? I think there's additional programs to do that, but I wouldn't recommend it for this. I don't know if anyone's been doing Zoom. I know I do Zoom with friends and things of that nature. You could do some fun, kind of funky backgrounds. But for this, I think we're going to try to keep it as professional as possible. You may want to share your webcam. We'll talk about that later. But we can keep going through those. Again, if anyone looks at that question area, please type a question box in there so you can see what actual attendees have to do to type a question also. All right, next slide. Next, we're going to go over a quick overview of the OATUG Forum Online. Again, as we mentioned, we have over 200 educational sessions. I'm going to include the meetups in there and happy hours. I think what we got up to were about, I think, 198 total sessions. But if you add the meetups, it'll definitely be over 200. It was very difficult for us to kind of pick and choose sessions. So all the speakers that are listening to me now, you made the final cut because we did have to drop down from 500 sessions. So it's very difficult to figure out which educational sessions to choose. Luckily, we've got a really strong education committee that helped with, and a great agenda chair also, I would add, that helped us kind of narrow those sessions down. We try to include as many user sessions as we can. We definitely added some associate sessions in there. So we've got a lot of great information. I know I got off the phone with Nadia, who's speaking with Cliff Godwin, and they mentioned they have a lot of new information that's going to be launched at this event. So I was super happy and excited about that. I forwarded that to my marketing team, so hopefully they'll be pushing some of that out. If you haven't visited it, but I would assume a lot of people here have, we have a great presenter page. This is on the Forum Online website. If you go there, there's a presenter page that has all your resources that you need to know. Kind of lets you know how to, obviously if you downloaded the online template, it's there. If you converted your template, it's there. I know there will be a few people that haven't converted their template. It's still on the Collaborate 20. That's, if you haven't done it, it's okay. We prefer it be on the online forum template, just to let people know about the event, and when they actually launch it in the hub and download those sessions, it'll be on the proper template. And also we'll be keeping the speaker portal open to a week after the conference, so probably mid-May we'll close that portal. So if you do have any updates to your presentation, you do want to put on an online forum template, please do that there and re-upload the template. If anyone's presented in the past, they know our speaker portal, which there'll be a couple instances where you'd still see Collaborate 20 on there. You just upload your presentation there. It's really easy if you've done it before. Next, we'll talk about highlights of the event. The first one is a keynote named Dan Thurman. He's really fantastic. He did a keynote for us, I think last summer I saw him. He has a keynote about being off balance on purpose. He's very acrobatic. He does some crazy things, and I highly recommend you watch it. The theme of it is off balance on purpose, but I think with COVID, we can all understand that we are all off balance on purpose right now, with everyone working from home, no one gathering. I don't think there's any better time to hear Dan's message. He's going to be doing his virtually also as well. So we're going through that. Oracle sessions, I talked about those. We got a great Oracle support. We've got the whole EBS product team. We've got the whole EPM product team all doing sessions. We've got the analytics and BI roadmap that's going to be happening. I recommend you look for all those. Absolutely fantastic, incredible Oracle support. And I know a lot of our attendees are going to like seeing that and hearing that. For this event, we do have CPE credits available. So if people are interested in CPE events, or CPE credits, those are going to be all the cloud sessions, all financial sessions, all professional development sessions will have CPE credit available. There's a form you have to fill out, and you have to make sure you log on and you stay on for at least 50 minutes into the webinar on that, so that make sure they've logged on and logged off, because we'll be auditing those. We have happy hours and meetups that you'll see in the hub. There'll be a quick link in the hub that you can click on, a happy hour meetup. I think we're running those through Zoom so everyone can be face to face. Talk about stories, talk about sessions. There's theme meetups, whether you're doing kind of, upgrade, or, Nadia and Cliff are going to do a meetup. I mean, there's some fantastic stuff that's happening there. So keep an eye on the hub and keep a look for those areas. And then, of course, access to all recordings of slide decks, as I mentioned, is going to be in the hub. Next slide. All right, the hub. We posted kind of a screenshot of what's there right now. If you look at it and play with it, you can actually see some of the sessions listed there in the hub. You can search sessions. One of the things that I kind of is most proud about this event is our IT support. We've got an amazing IT person who essentially switched over all our sessions into his own program where you can search and filter by session title, by presenter first or last name. It's really easy to use, and it's all listed there to the right. Again, hopefully a lot of people have looked up their own sessions on that. Check the title, abstract, learning objectives, anything like that. Check through there. Posting your questions. Another thing you can do in the hub, which is really great, is post a question or answer a question. So keep an eye on the hub. If someone's talking about your session or talking about your topic, you can maybe poke in there. See, you get a couple of discussion posts that are already listed there, a basic welcome to Forum Online, and then you can kind of look at that, and if there's a topic in there that you'd like to discuss, get in there and kind of answer any questions or post questions, anything like that. Next, we're going to be talking about all slides and recordings can be found here, real easy. And then yeah, again, like I mentioned, you can also promote your session by listing any highlights. Like if you go there and you're in Apex and you say, hey, these are the exact things I'm going to be showing you at my session to talk about Apex, anything like that, I highly recommend you post there. And this Forum Online hub community is just for the attendees for this conference. So we do have a pretty high attendance on it. So definitely there should be some good discussions going on in there. All right, next. Hannah, let me turn this over to you since you may know a little bit more about this than I do.
Yes. So this is, if you have not already done so, everyone, the same place that you'll have access to the hub that Mike was just referring to, you'll also be able to edit your account information so that you can add a photo. And I've just kind of posted a screen grab so you can see where that'll happen. So as you can see, I don't have a picture uploaded, but if you go into actions, you'll be able to upload a good headshot of yourself, which is nice for the attendees who will again be interacting with you in the hub, and they might be curious about the speakers of the sessions that they're attending. And then you can also add information about you and your background and where you're working that might be relevant. We have a lot of attendees that will be looking for that kind of information, and it's helpful for them to have a better understanding of our presenters and to network a little bit more. So the link is here. It's also, as Mike mentioned, the link to access your profile is on the presenter information page, so you can find it there.
All right, let me cover a couple of questions as they are coming in. So we'll start with a couple of questions first. The first question, again, I'm going to cut and paste. This is exactly how we're going to run it during the webinar. And it'll generally be at the end of your webinar, not in the middle like we're doing here, but I am going to kind of handle it a little differently. We're going to handle it in the middle. So I'm cutting and pasting the first question we got. Will this presentation be emailed to us after the session? We're recording this, so the recording and this PowerPoint will be posted on the presenter page. So if you go to the presenter page, like I mentioned before at the Collaborate Forum website, this video will be recorded, plus the slide. You can access the slides there. Let's go through a couple of them. We got a question about how many total papers were submitted for Collaborate 2020. Total submissions before we accepted everything was over 1,000. We ended up accepting around 400, and then when you add kind of Oracle sessions and some other sessions that came in a little bit later, those sessions were pushing at about 530, 540 total sessions that came in for Collaborate. And of course, again, like I had mentioned, we had to get those all down to about 200. Next question here, and this is actually a really good one. Is it possible for a colleague to manage questions that roll in through a session? How would that work technically? Now, that is possible. And what I would recommend is that you email myself, email speaker programs, which you have if everyone's on this email, you should see a speaker program's email there. So just email us. What we'll do in that case is we'll actually make a co-presenter that you want answering questions. We can make them an organizer so they can actually see the questions that are coming in. Panelists will not be able to see questions, only organizers can, and everyone's been added as a panelist. I get a couple of other questions going through them. Again, cut and pasting into the chat area. Some of the questions for presenters that were not chosen for OATUG Forum Online, will they get a chance to present at a future conference since their session was not selected? Or they have to submit a proposal again? Again, I mentioned at the end of this, we'll talk a little bit more about the face-to-face that's happening in December. Generally, we'll do our best to get people that weren't able to present here into the face-to-face, but that may not necessarily be the case. There's a lot of different factors we look at, considering users and things of that nature. So we can talk a little bit about that, but once the event is officially announced in June or July, we can go on that as well. Okay, someone asked if they have co-presenters, how do we organize this? If you have co-presenters, they've already been added to GoTo, so they would have received the same email. So if you have co-presenters that we don't know about, that would be a good time to email us and make sure we've added them as co-presenters. You may want to, what I'm talking about in this orientation, you may want to reach out to your co-presenter to see if they've received anything from us, either this email or they were received a GoTo email as well, because I did email all co-presenters. Again, someone asked who has permission to post a question to the entire audience. The organizers, such as myself, such as I'm doing right now. The co-presenters cannot do that. Someone asked for a SIG group. We don't have a lot of SIG sessions. They asked if a SIG group, can we have a GoTo meeting instead of a GoTo webinar? I would recommend we do a meetup instead of the SIG session, so we could talk about that. Just go ahead and email me about that. Yeah, someone asked about questions. Only the organizer can see questions unless they're posted into the chat area down below. We're getting a lot of questions. Let's continue on with the webinar, and I'll answer questions at the end. That way, people that may have time restrictions can jump off. So let's move on to the next slide. All right, before your session, make sure you've confirmed your time and date. You have it loaded into your Outlook. You're all ready to go with that. You should have received an email from GoToWebinar. Now, we used a lot of different GoToWebinar accounts. Some of them will have meeting expectations on it, which is kind of our parent company. So look for those. In the GoToWebinar email, there is a link to add it to your calendar. I highly recommend you go to that link and add it to your calendar that way. Another thing you should do is, you've never been onto GoTo at all, make sure you have the software uploaded on your computer. I think in this day and age that would be rare, but there may be a few presenters that don't have GoTo right now. Again, like I mentioned earlier, speak with your co-presenters. They've all been emailed, so they should have received kind of an instruction email going to the presenter page and all that, but make sure you've confirmed with them, they know what they're doing, all that good stuff. And then again, like I had mentioned before, if you need to add any co-presenters, let us know. The only way we can add them is if we add them to the GoToWebinar as a panelist. Also, a big thing is all slides and slides with notes are due at close of business today. So I know most of you have already done your slides and had them uploaded before all this madness started. So hopefully you've had some additions. I did recommend in one of my emails that you put a COVID update in your slides. You know, maybe add a little touch of what's going on with you, how it's going, how it's affecting your presentation. Whether you know what kind of differences it might make in your presentation. I know with you know with the economy and everything else we have going on, there is a lot of changes happening at like a light speed change right now. Um, check your sound setup. I know everyone on this webinar probably has had sound and been doing virtual calls and IM meetings and Skype meetings, all that stuff. Check and make sure you know what works best. Make sure you know that, let's say, I do see a lot of people with computer and headsets. Use those if that's what's most comfortable and that's what worked the best. Make sure you have all notifications turned off. That's another really important one. Make sure if you've got the instant message or Skype or anything running, that is turned off. All right, next. Joining your session. Let's go to use again, like I mentioned, use the link that says GoToWebinar that you're a panelist. And then, of course, email this email if you don't have that link or you want to add any panelists. The super important thing to do is join 15 minutes early. Staff will be on waiting for you 15 minutes before your session starts. Make sure you're logged on early. Your PowerPoint's ready to go. Make sure everyone has their PowerPoint up and ready, ready for the, if we could talk through, we'll change to presenter. We'll make sure you're in kind of presentation mode. Another thing, if you have logged into Forum Online, you do not need to register for your session. That registration link is only if you're attending. If you're speaking, you want to really look for that GoToWebinar email. And then session structure, this is essentially what we're doing on site. We'll have, again, as I mentioned, an OATUG staff member there to moderate your session. The moderator will do an introduction. We'll mention the housekeeping items, how the Q&A will work. We'll make sure there's no issues with sound or mic or audio or video problems. We'll make sure if something like that happens, we'll announce it. We'll be facilitating the Q&A based on whatever speaker preferences are there. Reminders just on your session slides and everything. Try to keep your sessions as educational in nature. Try not to make sure they're a sales pitch, anything like that. Our attendees really, especially with a webinar like this where people can kind of leave really quickly without you actually seeing them get up and leave. So if you do be a little too salesy with your presentation, you may get people that will leave your session. Again, just try to keep your company information down. You know, one slide for your presenter information, a maximum 3 logos on 3 slides. So try to remember that. And then attendee lists will not be provided to the speakers. Next, during your session, it's important to keep an eye on that chat area that you're all kind of watching right now. If there's any problems, video or audio problems, we'll first put that into a direct message right to you. If there's no response, then we'll chime in vocally and just mention there might be a problem with audio or video. I've done, 1,000 webinars, and of course, when I first started doing them, this was more of a problem than it is currently. So I have run into just about everything from anything. So I will chime into the webinar, and I have broken into a webinar and told informed speakers that their audio or video is not doing well. But just kind of keep that in mind. Make sure you're, especially this is a real COVID update here. Make sure you are in a quiet area in your home where you have no family that may interrupt you, a dog, anything like that. Just make sure you are kind of soundproof. Again, during your session, some of the best sessions that I love, we have a lot of associates that do a lot of presenting, a lot of great Oracle presenters as well. My favorite ones are when they're as friendly and nice as possible. Just talk through the speaking experience, talk through, what they're currently going on. Those are the best presentations. Talk as though you're talking to a colleague or some coworkers. Just speak frankly when you're talking through your session. And then, of course, don't do exactly what I've been doing a little bit of. Don't reread your bullets. Enhance the bullets with examples as much as you can. And then, of course, when the Q&A starts, definitely start looking at that chat area. We'll repeat the questions, but if you don't understand it or you didn't hear anything, it's good to look in that chat area to see exactly what it is. Again, sometimes attendees will type in something, we'll have a few typos, so sometimes you have to kind of negotiate what exactly the attendee's asking, but it's always good to kind of talk through that and just say, oh, I don't know what you're asking or something like that. And then again, try to end on time. What we generally recommend is a 45-minute presentation with a 15-minute Q&A. We don't know how long the Q&A is going to go. So sometimes Q&As run a little bit longer than others. This webinar, since we have so many people on it and you guys are all speakers, we have a ton of questions. So it'll definitely probably go over the 15-minute Q&A. But try to keep it to that. You can run a little bit over. I've allotted for about 5 minutes over your allotted hour time. So just make sure you've got enough time in there for a good Q&A. What we will always recommend is that you have a couple of questions preloaded. So before the webinar starts in that 15-minute time beforehand, we'll ask you what the best Q&A questions are. So we'll actually have a couple of questions preloaded to kind of jumpstart questions. Sometimes people are afraid to answer or anything like that. So just we'll have those preloaded. Then we can kind of kickstart the Q&A, and we'll wait around a little bit afterwards. Maybe a little bit of dead time waiting for any additional questions. So if anyone's been on a webinar before, they've kind of seen this. Next slide. Next, the keys to giving a great presentation. As I had mentioned a little bit earlier, go slowly, pause for people to understand. Keep your slides as clean and clear as possible. That's always good. Sometimes if you put too much on there or you grab some screenshots that people can't really read, that's something you want to look out for. Try to be audience-centric. Think about the audience and think about what they might be actually looking for. Again, helpful to think of yourself as a mentor, that you're kind of sharing it with a mentee. And then, of course, wrapping up your story wrapping up your content in a story is fantastic. If you could really talk about stories or specific examples, you're going to be talking about a lot of different Oracle, processes and procedures. But if you have a specific example with clients, that's always great to throw in there. And then, lastly, continue the conversation in the hub when your session's over with. Next, frequently asked questions. I was asked to present one session, but I'm seeing all my sessions listed in my speaker portal. You may have some Collaborate 20 sessions that are still visible there. I did not remove them, so just make sure you're uploading to the right session in your speaker portal. You should be able to see exactly what session you're uploading your presentation for. And then I cannot access the GoToWebinar. Please access the GoTo in advance. We're pretty sure to make sure this isn't an issue. If everyone's accessed this, they already have GoTo up and loaded, so you should be ready to go. And then lastly, the in-person event is scheduled for December 6th through 9th. Those dates are set. It's going to be at the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas. We'll have more information in June and July with everything that's going on with COVID. We've got a lot of COVID clauses in this conference, in this face-to-face. So again, I think having that information out more in June and July when we might know a little bit more where this is all headed, you'll be able to access everything there. There's a lot of, I'm sure we'll have a lot of different questions. I'd like to keep the questions only for the online event. If there's any questions about the face-to-face, we'll discuss that. I'd like you to email those to me to the speaker program, and we'll get back to you as soon as we kind of know information on that. I think until the event's kind of fully sussed out, we won't have a lot of responses to questions currently for that. Next, all right. We've got Q&A. So I will quickly try to go over everyone's questions. I know there's a lot of them in there, and I may have covered some of them. Okay, this next one is mentions that they are an Oracle speaker in one session and able to upload slides. They're not able to register online. Yeah, if you haven't been able to register for it yet, please email us and we'll get that over to registration, and they should be able to help you out registering for this event. Everyone should have gone through the link and registered. If you're just presenting and you don't really care to see any of the sessions, the only thing you really have to worry about is the go-to email. But if you do want to see other sessions, you do want to get into the hub, all that stuff, you have to register for the event. Someone asked if the go-to email been sent out to co-presenters? Yes, if you've had a co-presenter on your session, the go-to email has been sent out. Now, I know a lot of those go-to emails sometimes end up as spam or trash. It's always good to look for that. I have had a few speakers ask for it, and I forwarded it to him, and it shows that it actually went to his email address, but his company may have some firewalls or something like that, so it's always good to look for. But if you need us to resend it, we can actually send the link from our own email, so you definitely would have it. Someone's asking about how do you control between two speakers. What I recommend is both speakers have their audio on, and it's really up to the primary presenter to drive that. I have been the primary presenter. I've asked Hannah to chime in if it was something I thought she had better knowledge on. So that's essentially how you kind of drive it. Make sure you have one presenter as the primary, and then kind of bring in the secondary presenter. Someone also brought in, they've got a panel discussion. How will that work if they can't see the questions? Probably what we'd want to do with some of those panel discussions is make one person there an organizer, so they can actually see the sessions. Maybe a facilitator for the panel would be an organizer in that case. We'll be able to see the questions and kind of field them off to the different panelists. Someone asked about the Q&A being handled by an organizer. Those organizer emails will be sent out to all Oracle presenters. I just spoke with Nadia. We're going to change all panelists from her presentation team to organizers so they can kind of field the Q&A and see the Q&A. I'm going through a few more questions. How to hand off control to a co-presenter. Someone was asking on how to hand off control to the co-presenter. I have not been doing a good job of putting this in the so if you're going to hand off what I recommend is one person drive the slides in the session. If someone else if you have two presenters that handled slides, the OATUG staff members can switch midstream to a co-presenter if they need to drive the slides, or they did a separate set of slides. This next question is, will a presentation be a video or only audio. We record the session so people can watch the whole video of it like you're watching right now. But they'll also have access to the PowerPoint. So keep that in mind. Someone was asking, can they see how many people are registered? You won't be able to see how many people are registered. You may be able to see the attendee list at the top. I don't know if anyone else can see the attendee, or actually no, the panelists would be the one to be able to see the attendee list at the top. But yeah, they can
Yeah,
always reach out to us. Oh, sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to add the staff member can tell you how many people are on when you join 15 minutes early. So if you're curious what the attendance looks like right before, we can share that information.
Yeah, I've got a few questions about Form Online and the face-to-face. I'm actually going to pass those up. Again, if you have those questions, please email them to me personally and I can get back with you there. Probably won't get back to you after the online event, but I will eventually get back to you. All right, I got a question. This is a pretty good one here. All right, some of the presentations don't have presentations with notes. I have a presentation with notes. Do we need to add the same document presentation with notes option? If you've done a straight presentation and one with notes, please upload both of those. If you haven't done one with notes, don't worry about it. Just upload, make sure the main presentation is loaded.
I'm just real quick going to chime in, Mike. The question that I just reread in terms of impacting whether you open microphone, that's actually, I just want to make sure people knew that that's not an option. All of your attendees will be on mute throughout the session, regardless of the attendance levels. Just want to make sure that was clear.
Okay. This is another question. The actual slide used are run off what is uploaded or the latest. Run your latest slides. It may not be the one you just uploaded, but again, like I mentioned, you can upload it anytime. So make sure you get the latest one up there. We have a couple of Oracle speakers. If you're having issues uploading or getting online for the event, please email us and I'll get you over to registration who can help you get registered. Someone's asking if the presentation slides from their personal computer versus the ones uploaded today. Yep, all speakers need to run the PowerPoint from their personal computer. So the primary presenter needs to run the PowerPoint. The ones that you're uploading are PDFs, so those don't really work very well in a presentation. Yep, I'm having a couple of questions about looking for more time for the presentations. Upload what you have because a lot of you have already done them. But if you're still working on them, yes, get them up to us. Like I mentioned, you can upload multiple versions. So just keep working on them and give us what we have, give us what they need. Remember, a lot of we are going to upload some of those presentations into the hub. So attendees will be kind of browsing those. Is there any feedback from the attendees? We are doing a survey, and we are announcing the survey at the very end. It says there at the very bottom, please complete the session evaluation you'll receive via email from the webinar service provided. So we're going to have people are going to fill out that survey and get it back to us. It's a really simple question. It's like, what did you think of the session? It's just I think there's Hannah, correct me if I'm wrong. There's 10 options. It's one to 10. One being lowest, 10 being the best. So we're going to collect all those and get back to all the speakers who presented and let them know how many attendees you had and what your survey rating was for your session. This is a great question here. Do we need to add any safe harbor slide? I recommend it. If your company does it, I would recommend that you put that in there. Again, a question about the session evaluation, which I answered. And someone asked if they're not informed of their attendees for sessions. Yeah, we don't provide attendee information on those. Same as Collaborate. All right, this is a really good question that's popped in. Do both the main and co-presenters log in ahead of time to do a dry run with GoToWebinar? That's really what the 15 minutes beforehand is meant for. That's plenty of time to kind of get you up and running, and you guys can talk about everything. There's a lot of time to kind of run through things there. We'll try to be on a little bit before that, so if you want to get on 20 minutes early, you can jump in there. I get a question about the Collaborate 21 event. I still don't know what's going on with Collaborate 21. I think with the COVID thing, that's something I think all the groups are kind of looking at. Hannah, I'm not sure about this one. Maybe you can help me. There's actually, I don't know the question. Someone asked, they see advertisements for, first off, I want to mention that see an advertisement for vendor booths during the event. What does that mean? First off, I'd like to mention that we've had a lot of great associates stay with us through this event, and we really appreciated that. That was one of the factors that drove us to selecting the sessions that we did, especially for the associates that stayed with us, that wanted to do Collaborate, stayed with us with Collaborate, are doing sessions with Collaborate. So we appreciate all those associates that hung with us, that stayed with us, and we're hoping they get more out of this than they actually would at Collaborate, since it'd be really easy for attendees to upload and download sessions, presentations, all that good stuff. There is, I think there's going to do some vendor booth or maybe something. Hannah, do you know anything about that?
And in terms of information about the sponsors?
Yeah, well, it sounds like a vendor booth. I will figure that out and
Yeah.
email everyone. Or actually, you probably will get an email from the event. If you're an attendee, you'll get more information about that. So look for that and kind of know before you go email. We should have that kind of posted and listed. Will the presentations be video or audio only? It's up to you. If you're comfortable adding the video, you can do that. Just kind of open up your camera and you can present as well. We've seen that, and it is a little bit more personal in my estimations. Just kind of watch your background, make sure it's professional, and of course, make sure you're all dressed up. I know Cliff Godwin's going to do that, so you may want to check in his sessions. The very first session we run Monday morning, and again, like I mentioned, after speaking with the EBS team, they have a lot of new information, and Nadia was working frantically to update all that information. So I'm really thankful they're doing that. Yep. Someone asked if they can make edits to their session. Absolutely. Keep making sessions, keep uploading. Again, a couple more questions about December, but I'm going to keep that kind of open. Oracle speakers, yeah, we had to use a lot of different go-to accounts. So Oracle speakers received an email from Lindsay Wisdom. Some of you would receive them from speaker programs. Some of you would receive them from GeoSig, OATU membership. We also have I think, AMBU meeting expectations account that you would have received an email from. So keep a look for all go-to emails. Someone's asking, they are a speaker, they got the emails for presenting but didn't register yet. If you go to the email that I emailed out about the event, there is links in there for registering. So you just basically, if you were, let me go back a second. If you had a comp pass for Collaborate 20, you were converted over and you are registered for the event. So you basically need to click on the link, select any sessions that you need to choose for that you may want to view on the online event. So if you were speaking and you're already registered for Collaborate 20, you will receive a registration for Collaborate Online. Yeah, someone else asked about a promotional code. There was no promo code. You were converted over if you were a full attendee at Collaborate. Someone asked if a webcam is required during the presentation. Like I mentioned, that's optional. Let's keep going. Hannah, I'm going to give this next one to you. You've run a few more of these than I have. Is it possible to put a survey question during the session for attendees?
Yes, yeah, we can do that. If you email, again, email speaker programs and we can set that up. They are not, it's not possible to put open-ended questions, so it does have to be a question with a few options that people can select from. And we'll build that ahead of time into the go-to, and then you just need to, in that 15 minutes before with your staff person that's on, just let them know that that's already in there and talk about when you'd like that to be shared with the attendees, and they can make sure that that happens.
Perfect. Awesome. We got another couple of really good questions coming up here. Were we supposed to change the naming convention of your presentation upload or keep them the same? I would keep them the same. The naming convention for your PowerPoint or PDF should be the exact title of your session. And then you want to underscore it PPT or PPT with notes. That's how the naming convention should be, and it should be exactly the same. This next question is really good, though. Can I connect to Oracle OCI console to show the presentation? I would suggest yes, if you've got good internet. And what I would do is make sure you've got it kind of launched in the background, so you just kind of lower your slides and then go right over to it. So if you do need to show anything on the web, I recommend that you do it and kind of talk through it. I think it'd be a little bit more informative for the attendees if you did something like that. Yep. Again, someone mentioned if they'll get a list of how many people attended. Yes, you will get your survey rating and an attendance for your session. A lot of people are asking, will the presenters be seen through the cameras? Only if you turn your cameras on. A lot of questions about re-uploading presentations. Like I mentioned, keep uploading as much as you can. Another question about, is it possible to run demos during the presentation? Again, I highly recommend it. Just make sure you've tested all that. You've got it all up and running. It's all ready to go before your session is launched. We're going through some of the questions here, trying to get through it. Again, To register for other sessions, you do have to click on the links. So you can go to the presenter page, it's there, or the email I sent out that everyone received with the information for this webinar. Go there to click on the pages because if you've already been speaking in Collaborate, again, you're pre-registered. This is a really good question. What is the best way to look at a session list and build a schedule? Hannah, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, if you so we kind of had it set up where you can look at the full schedule, the schedule that Mike was talking about where you can search by track, by speaker. That's a little bit more interactive. So it depends on your preference. If you're really just interested in a specific speaker or certain topics, that's the best way to kind of pull out the sessions that you'd really like to attend. And then you can just jot down what day they are. And then when you go into your account, which is the same place that you'll be updating your bio and hub, that's where your ability to register for the different sessions lives. And from there, the sessions are organized by day and time. So personally, for me, like I would find it helpful to go in by time and kind of see there will be up to 5 sessions in each time block. So you have 5 choices to kind of work through which one might be the best. And if you're curious about those different sessions, you have to go back to that original schedule and look at the abstract and learning objectives, but you can at least sort of structure it by time and map it out that way, which I would recommend.
Yeah, but I put the link down there for everyone to click on and be able to search session again by title, by speaker, by primary track, smart track. You'd also search by date. It's a really fantastic tool that our IT personnel developed. This next question is really good. If I need to connect audio from a phone instead of a computer, will it recognize me as a speaker? Yes. How I used to always connect to a GoToWebinar was I'd connect via my computer, and then for audio, I always ran it from my iPhone. I'm probably not going to do it for this event. I have to keep my iPhone open in case I have questions from other moderators. But you can do that. When you do that, it's in the audio area, the audio tab. Everyone should have it. And if you click on it, you can see that you're using the computer audio, but you can click to a phone call. And the important thing is when you switch to a phone call is that you put in the PIN number. That PIN number will kind of notify GoToWebinar who is using that. So if you put in the PIN number, it will recognize you as a speaker or a panelist. Yeah, some of them ask, is 15 minutes prior the only time you can do a dry run, or is there an option to do it earlier? It might be tricky because we are using all the GoTo accounts all during the day. But again, email, if you really want to do a dry run, email us. 15 minutes is generally all it really takes, especially nowadays. People are pretty good with everything that's happening. Someone is asking if they can extract a session list to Excel. That is actually a really good question, and I know we can pull it. Yeah, that's a great idea. Let me talk to Creative and see if we can put an Excel list of sessions up somewhere. Kind of like that idea. Hannah, I'm going to give you this next one. Can you cancel a session you registered for if you notice on the invoice that you had double booked sometimes?
That's a great question. I think, yeah, that's an issue with the way that the system is set up. So you can't manually cancel it yourself. You can, if you want it just off of your calendar so you don't get confused, email us and we can manually remove you from that. But there's no harm in you being registered for that session and then just not attending. So it's up to you. And if for some reason you did want to stay registered, you could actually jump back and forth between the 2 sessions. So don't worry about canceling it if there's no problem on our end if you're double booked, but if you'd like to have a clean agenda, then yes, you can email us and we can remove.
Perfect. This is another real good question. Do you have to register for the keynote? Yes, you do. Again, Cliff's session is considered a keynote, so you have to register for that. We do have a session for the keynote. It actually says keynote right in the title. So if you type it into, Hannah, do you want to search for that? Or kind of on my own computer?
Do you want me to bring up my screen?
Yeah, can you, or you could switch it over to me right now. Uh-oh. Oh, what's the, its name's Dan, right? It should be in here. So I just searched the keynote's name, Dan Thurman, so I'm going to hit search. We got to run it up.
It probably hasn't been synced.
Yep, we're going to run an update of this, but this is the keynote, and we'll make sure that make sure it says keynote in front of it to kind of highlight it. And I believe there may be a link to it on the website. But this is the keynote, and you do have to sign up for it, just like you would a normal session.
It's on Wednesday afternoon, so if you're registering, it should appear when you look at Wednesday, April 22nd. The session's listed for that day to sign up. It'll be there.
Okay, Hans asked one other question. Hans, do you want to ask your question one more time? You mentioned something about interacting with attendees and presenters and attendees. Oh, here it is right here. Okay. I'm going to cut, paste it, put it in the chat area. Is there a way to run the webinar with an open mic? I don't recommend doing this because if you do run, if all your attendees have open mics, if they have any background noise, you'll be hearing a lot of static. So we kind of like questions, the Q&A being answered via the control panel. For the meetups and the happy hours and things of that nature, people will have the ability to open up their mics. I think rarely, but if it would happen where there's a strong interaction between an attendee and a speaker, we could open that person's mic up. All right, are there any other questions? I think I've covered just about all of them. Yeah, a question to attend sessions. Again, you have to register. Well, actually, you're already registered. You just have to select sessions inside of Aptify. Hannah, do you want to go through that kind of process once more?
How to select sessions?
Yeah.
If you, Mike, if you go to the Forum Online website, we can actually, there's a great little instruction that's just been added there. So if you go to forum.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's
so under yep. So this walks you through when if you click on select your sessions and build your agenda, you'll have to log in, and this is where you're logging in with, it'll be the same access that you have for your for all of your accounts. It's the same place you update your bio. And this is the page where you'll be selecting sessions. And it's just important, it's a little, just to make sure everyone sees it. When you choose your sessions here, you do have to scroll to the bottom and click add to my agenda. And then you can continue to browse between the different days, but you do need to click continue to check out in order for those to be confirmed. And you'll get a email confirmation saying that you've registered for these sessions. So if you haven't gotten that email confirmation, then just double check that you've successfully registered. Yeah, just like Mike is doing. And then once you've registered for your sessions, you hit continue. You will be able to just pull up the sessions that you've registered, and the links to join each of them will be there. So now you're successfully registered. Yeah, if you go into Forum Online, which is just under your account, this is where you can see the sessions. And that join URL is the one that you'll be using that'll open up right at the session start time. And if you add it to your calendar here from this page, it'll actually populate your calendar entry with the join URL as well. So you don't have to come back to this page if you want to do it through your calendar.
Okay. Hopefully that helped. Next question we had, will the monitor be in charge of keeping the audience on mute? Everyone will be on mute throughout the presentation.
Yeah, they auto join. The default is every attendee that joins is not able to unmute themselves. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, if you're having trouble logging in, just email me and we'll get you over to registration and get you all logged in. Again, if you're, we have another question about, can you follow up a little bit more on the last answer about the interaction with attendee with questions? Again, we generally do questions similarly how we're handling them now. We'll ask the question and the speaker can follow up on that. Someone asked, what's the difference between join and add to calendar? On that last page that I have, the join URL is the go-to link. So that puts you right into it. So you're gonna wanna hit that link right before your session starts. So at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, I'm gonna hit that join URL link and I will join it. And this, remember, this is just if you're an attendee. This isn't if you're a speaker. And make sure that's very clear. Someone asked, how do you find the happy hours? The happy hours will be posted in the hub. So keep an eye on the hub and look towards that.
Yes, and there will be a networking page on the Forum Online website as well.
Again, if you have any questions, please drop them into the speaker programs email and we'll answer them the best we can. I think we're a little bit over on our speaker orientation, so I'd like to end the session. So I want to thank all you speakers for doing another fantastic job. This is a very good Q&A. So I want to thank you. I am excited that we're able to still put on Collaborate as best we can, and I think the education is going to be very strong. We're going to do a really good job of kind of promoting Q&A at the end of sessions, kind of keeping the conversations going in the hub. Doing this, trying to be as active as a face-to-face conference, even though we're all virtual. So again, I want to thank you. Hope everyone's safe and healthy at this time. I mean, there's a lot going on. We're all stuck in the houses. But thank you all. We really appreciate all the hard work you do for the nonprofit. Oracle Applications and Technologies Users Group. So thank you very much. We look forward to next week. I think we're going to send out a quick email of the major points right before Monday's session starts. So keep an eye on that. Again, any questions, shoot them off to us for the speaker programs. Thank you, guys.